did it. You pushed through the late nights, the endless iterations, and you finally found it. Product market fit. You've got a handful of loyal, paying customers, your churn rate is finally stabilizing, and hey, maybe the tech press even just wrote a glowing article about your recent seed round. So, congratulations. Seriously, take a second to celebrate that. But I need to deliver a brutal reality check right out of the gate here, because despite all of that success, your startup is still probably going to die. See, for the last decade or so, Silicon Valley has absolutely obsessed over product market fit as the ultimate holy grail of startup success. It's treated like the finish line, right? But here is the truth. Product market fit is really just a single stepping stone on a much longer, much more dangerous road. So in this explainer, we're going to focus on a massive, deadly chasm that every successful founder eventually has to cross. It is literally this silent killer of great ideas, and we need to face it head on.
Section 1. The product market fit illusion.
Okay, so most founders start with a product idea, not a market strategy. They put their heads down and focus entirely on building this beautiful, flawless piece of software. But in that pursuit of perfection, they completely ignore go-to-market strategy, distribution channels, and pricing. And here's the thing, by ignoring the business side, you end up building a product that is incredibly hard to sell at scale. You know, the world isn't going to just automatically beat a path to your door because you built a shiny new mousetrap. Because you didn't engineer distribution into the product itself, you end up relying purely on founder-led sales to close every single deal. You are the only one who can explain the value proposition. And the moment you try to step away to, actually run the business, your growth completely flatlines. At that point, you haven't actually built a company yet. You've just built a very expensive, very fragile product. Section 2, the product company gap. So, the product company gap. This is that vast space between having a product that a few early adopters want to buy and architecting a highly scalable business model that can actually survive the broader market. And honestly, the sheer mathematical reality of scaling across that gap is brutal. Let's look at the 40-20-20 rule from mature SaaS companies. A healthy software company actually spends 40% of its revenue on sales and marketing, while only spending 20% on product and R&D. Just think about that for a second. If you believe that product superiority alone is going to carry your business forward, you're mathematically delusional. The market simply demands a massive engine for distribution and sales. Section 3. The illusion of scale. To really hammer this point home, let's look at a brutal real-world example of failing to bridge this gap, a mobile payment startup called Paydiant. Now, years before Apple Pay was everywhere, Paydiant built this incredible, scratch-made QR code reader. They knew getting consumers to ditch credit cards was tough, so they sold their tech directly to massive retailers. We're talking Walmart, Subway, Best Buy. They were generating $10 million in revenue, and PayPal even acquired them for $280 million. Sounds like a huge win, right? Wrong. Even with PayPal's virtually infinite resources, Paydiant couldn't become a scalable platform. Integrating custom payment tech into individual retail apps was an unscalable nightmare. Now contrast that with the original iPhone. Steve Jobs gave us a beautiful touchscreen, sure, but the true scalable innovation, it was carrier subsidies that hid the upfront cost of the phone and an app store that took a 30% cut of all developer revenue. That is real business model innovation. The big takeaway here is super clear. If your product isn't architected for easy distribution and monetization from day one, you are not building a sustainable business. You're literally just subsidizing your customers' R&D with your investors' money. You're taking on all the heavy lifting and the pain of custom integration while your client reaps all the operational rewards. And man, that is a one-way ticket to burning through your runway. So I want you to ask yourself honestly right now, if you fired your entire sales team today and just put a simple buy now button on your website, would your company go bankrupt by Friday? If the answer is yes, then your product isn't selling itself. It's carrying the weight of a fundamentally broken business model, heavily propped up by brute force human effort. Section 4. The minimum viable segment. Okay, so how do we actually fix this? Well, we have to stop designing purely for the end user and start engineering the product so that it actively helps you sell it. To cross that gap, you need a minimum viable segment, or MVS. You've got to temporarily abandon the dream of a massive total addressable market. Just forget selling to everyone for a minute. Your MVS is a tiny, highly specific cluster of users with consistent, urgent needs. By focusing in right here, you simplify your entire motion. You have only one channel to master, one specific buyer persona to talk to, and one simple use case to perfect. You prove you can absolutely dominate this niche without fighting 100 competitors, and only then do you expand. Section 5. The SLIP framework. All right, once you have your MBS locked in, you need to fix your software. Because if your product requires a 6-month implementation cycle and a dedicated integration consultant just to get it running, you are never going to scale. It's just too heavy. Instead, you need to re-engineer your product using what's called the SLIP framework. The S stands for simple to install and use. Let's be honest with ourselves, nobody reads user manuals anymore. Your out-of-the-box experience must be absolutely flawless. Today, your true competitive advantage is a combination of powerful innovation paired with dead simple usability. If your onboarding process is even slightly complex or confusing, users are going to abandon you before they ever get the chance to see the value you provide. Moving on, the L means low to no initial cost. You've got to completely remove the friction of trying your product. You do this by lowering the cost of customer acquisition, making that very first step completely effortless. Whether that means deploying a freemium model, offering a totally frictionless free trial, or maybe providing open developer kits. You have to let the customer get their hands on the tool without needing a budget approval from their CFO first. Next up is I, for instant and ongoing value. In software, pain and inertia are the single biggest barriers to adoption, hands down. To overcome a buyer's status quo, your time to value needs to be as close to zero as humanly possible. Ideally, your product should be self-proving. It should immediately surface dashboards, analytics, or automated actions that show the customer right then and there that they are already saving time or money. And finally, the P means it plays well in the ecosystem. Look, you do not have to be the center of the universe. Just look at Klaviyo. They built an SMS and email marketing platform. But they became a billion-dollar unicorn because they built a flawless technical and business partnership with Shopify. They embedded themselves deeply into an ecosystem that was already exploding, letting that ecosystem's momentum completely carry their distribution. Let's pause here for one final reality check. Think about what you are building right now. Are you building a standalone island? A piece of software that forces your customers to log into a totally new dashboard and change their entire daily workflow? Or are you building a bridge, a tool that seamlessly connects and integrates into the systems they're already using every single day? Remember, bridges scale, islands get isolated. Section 6. Building a scalable empire. So let's synthesize all of this. The product-company gap is where great ideas go to die. Product-market fit proves your code works, sure, but crossing this gap proves your business works. You really need to stop relying on brute force sales to push complex software. Instead, use this formula. Lock in your minimum viable segment. Apply the SLIP framework to make onboarding simple, low cost, and instantly valuable. And then embed that into a scalable business model. That is exactly how you build the bridge. If you want to stop building fragile features and start building a resilient company, you have to bridge that gap. So I'm going to leave you with this question. What is the absolute most painful, friction-heavy software deployment you have ever been forced to endure? Drop your horror stories in the comments below, and then ask yourself, are you accidentally putting your own customers through that exact same nightmare? If this explainer helped you see your strategy in a new light, subscribe for more. Keep building, and I'll catch you next time.